Okay. Well, I mean, we are in very, very dangerous times now with what is happening in the neighboring countries in terms of violent extremism, in terms of terrorism. I remember already in 2014, we were hearing about this far away in Mali, and we didn't realize it could be this close. Today is very close in Burkina and in Togo, and the threats are very, 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 very imminent. As someone who has been working in this field, while we are working at protecting the borders, preventing terrorists from coming in, we are not paying particular attention to the conditions we are creating on the ground for radicalization and the potential homegrown terrorists. And apart from the minor chieftaincy and land conflicts where people feel very disenfranchised or people feel justice has not been done to them, and maybe if they are pushed to the corner to a point where they think that there is no way out, they could be potential candidates for radicalization. But one of the most serious one is the Fulbe community and our relationship with the Fulanis. It's like there is a level of prejudice, a level of stereotyping, a level of denigration and dehumanization that is not very healthy at all for this country. A crime is committed, any Fulani man who is seen in the vicinity is accused of committing the crime. We saw how somebody was killed around Yendi, a village was burned down, about 8 people died. Yesterday, look at what happened in Tamale. I'm not saying that the Fulanis do not, or Fulbes do not get involved, but if you actually catch the person committing the crime, then you allow the law to deal with the person. But if there is a crime committed, you have not found the person, and any person, any Fulani person passing, you catch that person, then you create a very serious problem. Basically what is happening is the law-abiding good people will be compelled to begin to be radicalized. The bad elements who are the radicals in the system can say, with all your law-abiding, look at what has happened. Anything that happens is Fulani. So there is a danger of radicalization right there. The second thing I like us to look at is my experience in the last few years working with farmer-Fulani relations is that when it comes to the Fulani Fulbe pastoralist, the greatest we know is that we don't know much. You see, every Fulani is a Fulani, but it's not true. First of all, it's not every Fulani who is a pastoralist. It's not every Fulani who is having cows. The Fulanis who are medical officers, the Fulanis who are teachers, the Fulanis who are doctors. You know, I know a Fulani in Tamale, he's an ophthalmologist. You see it. But because of our generalization or prejudice, any Fulani, especially if he's a pastoralist, is guilty. Now, we have about 4 different types of pastoralists if you talk about Fulanis who follow cows. Very often we talk about the transhumans. These are guys who come from Mali area, they go all the way down south and they come back and they go up and down. They move with huge cattle. You know, in Ghana here is a problem. If you go to our neighboring countries, it's very well organized. There are protocols that are clearly laid down on what should be done. You know, it is not done. And so we are faced with that problem. But our research has shown that the transhumans are not the main problem. You have also the settled Fulanis. These are people, some of them are 4th generation. Some were in Ghana even before independence. These are a group of Fulbes who come, they live in the community, they take care of the community cows. So everybody's cow is with a Fulani man. So if a cow destroys the farm, the burden or the destruction or the pain is shared among the community. You get it? That's the second. Then you have the third. These are semi. You know, so some of them, they have their own cows, but they're also taking care of community cows. These are people who live with us. They've always lived with us. We're very familiar with them. Then we have those Fulanis who take care of only their cows. If you come to Savannah region, you go towards Fumboy side, you can see a Fulani man with 3,000 cattle. You can see one with 5,000 cows. Those people do not settle near communities. So there is no problem with them. The fourth group is what we are having problems with, what I call the hired Fulani. The average Ghanaian, many of the people, when they make a bit of money, they buy cows. People are investing in cattle. You remember one time they were making noise about these Fulani cattle. They were saying, drive away the cow. When somebody came up and said, let's find out the owners of the cattle, the matter died down. The matter died down. In Wale Wale recently, they caught 200 cows. The Fulani man owed just 15 of those 200 cows. So who was the one who owed the rest of the cows? So people get these cattle, they give it to they hire a Fulani man. Some of them even arm them to take care of their cows. In this area in the Savannah region, a lot of the chiefs settle the Fulanis, or young people who are children of the chiefs or claim to be indigenous, they come from the chief family. They go to these Fulanis, collect a lot of cows and settle them. So they are settled around the communities where they are settled with farmers. The biggest problem we have is when a cow destroys a farm, the farmer does not get justice. This is the problem. It's not as if they are bad people, but if you go into the villages, into the communities, a lot of people have stopped farming. They went into charcoal burning. A lot of farming communities have moved. And you go and you establish a church where there is a farming community. You put a school, you put a borehole. You go there one day, they have all left. The Fulani cattle will not allow them. Now, you catch a cow, and all of a sudden, the cow belongs to a chief. The cow belongs to a politician. The cow belongs to this. So the problem is a problem of governance at the local level. Let's be very clear. If an acre of maize is destroyed, this is how much it will cost. And if the cow destroys this percentage of the farm, you pay for the whole farm. And without fear or favor, if you can show that a cow has entered your farm and destroyed it, you are going to be paid. The problem is that why are we allowing cattle to graze at night? Can there not be a law that no cow should graze at night? Now, one of the challenges is a cow enters your farm. As long as you have not caught the cow has no owner. No Fulani man will come up and own up. But immediately you kill a cow, all of a sudden the cow belongs to a chief. The cow belongs to some big man. And you, the farmer who has suffered, is in trouble. There is a guy in WAP prisons at the moment. You know, there was a butcher here whose cows apparently the man killed. This man's farm had been destroyed several times. Now, this butcher went and got police, and they went to the place, arrested the guy. Without trial, the man was languishing in prison. How did he get there? So if that is my brother going through this kind of injustice, what happens? So for me, it's not about Fulani being this or that. It's about us not putting in place a system to allow us to benefit from the symbiotic relationship that exists between farmer and pastoralist. I have decided to farm maize, you have decided to rear cattle. Why should you be disadvantaged? And why should your rearing of cattle affect my production? It's about law, it's about justice. So if we do not put in place systems that if your cow, that allows justice for the one who is suffering, if your cattle destroys my farm, you can put a system in place, put a chief there, a Fulani chief. Take care of your people. If a cow destroys a farm and we cannot find the owner of the cow, you pay. So if there are people who have cows in the village and they don't live in that village, tax them, create an account and put the money there. If your cow destroys a farm, if there is justice for the destruction of the farms, we wouldn't have any problem. The same for the Fulanis. You go and you see a cow and you kill the cow. There was a case, a man went and took harvested some cassava and came and put them by the roadside. The cow came and ate the cassava. He shot the cow. If you have shot the cow, you are claiming that the cow ate the cassava from your farm, then why are you dismembering it? Why do you cut it up and carry the meat away? So the same thing, justice for the full base. If somebody kills a Fulani man's cow, let's find out. So if there is this kind of justice system, then you know that if you come, even if you find cows in your place, come and report. Don't take the law into your own hands. We keep saying this. Why should it be different for other people? So this is the problem. What we have been trying to do here is a simple program to address this. So we decided that those communities that had a lot of problems, let's bring them together. So we brought 30 Fulbe, 30 farmers into the room. And we said, what are your problems? What are your challenges? So we facilitated a dialogue. Of course, at the beginning, they start by blaming each other. By the close of the day, they saw that they were not the problem. Somebody will get up and say, oh, but you have been living with us here for many years. We never had any problem with you. Why now? And then they identified the problems. And the problems sat squarely with the chiefs, with the police, and with the assembly. And both the Fulbe and the farmers agreed. So we say, okay, then instead of antagonizing, why don't you organize and now challenge these entities that are creating the problems for you? That's number one. Number two, let's build your capacity in mediation, in negotiation, so that when there is a problem, you don't have to fight. You can resolve the problem among yourselves. We did it for 6 months. It worked so well. That is what has been expanded to about 30 communities, and we have it for another year. So here is a localized arrangement to find a solution to the problem. So there is a team. They are equipped. We've given them smartphones. We give them money for fuel. So if you go and you see that cattle has destroyed your farm, come and report to them. They go, they assess, they take pictures. Then they find out whose cattle it is. Then you sit down and talk. But you see, there is just so much you can do. The rest has to come from local government, from law enforcement, from the justice system. You see, there is a system that is going on here. Arrests a Fulani man in 2-3 hours. The police station where the guy is, the police commander will get a call. And invariably within 2-3 hours, the matter is solved. And you, the farmer, you are left in the cold. So there are two problems we are having. The first problem is the prejudice, is the denigration. And if you do that, what basically happens is that you turn good people into radicals. And I personally experienced this. From 1993 to 1996, I was in Rome, in Italy. The Senegalese came up there in their drove. All the armed robbery, they blamed it on black people. Any disease that came, it was a black person who caused it. It was terrible to be a black man in Rome at that time. So you experience this, for no reason, just by the color of your skin, you are considered a terrorist. Somebody sees you, he starts moving away, or he makes derogatory remarks about you. It was a very terrible feeling. So we need to get this message out across. Where these people are coming from, if the place was nice for them, what do they want in Ghana here? And when you get up and say, let's drive them away, how do you know who is who? How do you know who is who? Our borders are porous. People are coming in. There was a district during the Rawlings time, they used to call them the kind of a DCE. That's the Operation Cow Leg time. He shared this experience. He led a group of soldiers to go and drive out these Fulanis. And when they got there, he saw this old man. He told the soldiers to wait. In his engagement with the old man, he realized that the old man was older than his father, and the old man has settled on that piece of land even way before he was born. So for all intents and purposes, this old man has lived here all his life. If you tell him to go home, where is he going to go to? So he went back and told the soldiers, let's leave them and let's go. So yes, there is a problem. We need to address it. What people are not thinking about is, this whole violent extremism, this whole business of gun running. There are a lot of big-time business people who are using these guys. They use the cattle to transport arms into the country. I discovered recently that some of the herdsmen were used to identify rosewood. So they go into the bush. When they identify the rosewood, they cut down the leaves to feed the animals. So when the chainsaw people come, they're looking for trees that the leaves have been cut, because these guys can identify the trees. So somebody is paying them to do that kind of work. So we are creating the opportunity for violent extremists to take advantage of this divide, to take advantage of this denigration of this ethnic group of people to radicalize them and use them against us. And what people don't realize is that these guys are comfortable in the bush. You and I, if we enter the forest, we'll get lost. They can go inside the forest before you realize they've appeared in Techiman. What about us? Come to Damango here. You go to any community, take the road and you go out. 2 kilometers out of the village, you run into a Fulbe community there. Some of them are decent people, they are looking for a living. Among them are criminals. Among them are crooks. You see it. And some of these people are aided by our people. So one of the things, if we are serious, is to desist from this instant justice. You know, so this is what I will say. The other thing is, you know, there is another thing that nobody is paying attention to. In a Fulbe community you enter, you can count up to 50 to 60 kids. In some communities, you count up to 100 children. None of these children are in school. None of them are in school. And they are very prolific in giving birth. Already at 13, 14, she has a child. By the time she's 16, 17, she has 3, 4 children. 25 years down the lane, you're going to have 25-year-olds. They are not educated. They have no profession. They may even outnumber us. And heading may no longer be in vogue. You see the problem? What do you do with them? What do you do with them? What are we doing now? You know, to ensure. So if you're coming into this place, why are all the cows not tagged? How much is an ear tag? That's revenue for the assembly. Give them 3 months, 6 months. Every cow should be tagged. If you catch a cow that is not tagged, it's for the state. Then you now identify the cattle owners. What taxes are they paying? Somebody is sitting in Accra or in Tamale and his Fulani man is here in Damango in a village. You know? And then he's destroying people's farms and you can't do anything about it. Can you imagine in Damango you can't find cassava to make gari? A cassava place. So for me, these are some of the things that I look at and I think that, you know, we have to begin to do something. We have started a VSLA for the Fulanis and it has picked on very nicely. And the first time we went, one woman just looked at us and said, this is the first time somebody has thought of us and has come to us. Some of the communities are now asking for education for their children. You see, so if they are coming here in their numbers, it is our governance system. You get it? That is having a problem. Not the poor fellow who is coming to look for a living. Put in place rules and regulations. Why are they not registered? Why are they not given identity cards? Why are they not taking their fingerprints? You see, you do profiling, you know, but the challenge is, how do you do this without being seen to just isolate one ethnic group and you are dealing with them? And people often use the argument that they're aliens. Yeah. You know, if a Fulani man is married to a Ghanaian, that Fulani man is a Ghanaian. If a Fulani woman is married to a Ghanaian, she's a Ghanaian. So I think that the education has to go out. If we have problems with Fulanis, let's hold our politicians and our government accountable, not the Fulanis. If you take the law into your own hands, are we allowing it because it is them? Then when it's no longer them and we are used to taking the law into our own hands, we are going to turn on each other. And then there is no end to it. You see, democracy for me, the rule of law, these are systems human beings agree to live by. They are not easy. They are not easy. You go to court, they pass a judgment, the judgment is against you. What do? You don't go and attack the judge because you are not happy with the judgment. So if they are laid down regulations, let us go by them. But you see, when you arrest these people and you don't see any of them convicted, then you push people to begin to take the law into their own hands. So for me, the problem is more varied. And we need to be able to do analysis to understand the problem before we proffer